Their debts are going to be your debts. Their wants are going to be your wants. Their afflictions will be your afflictions. Guaranteed. If you knowingly know what they're about. Because everything has a way of boomerang back to that person. It's like a reverberation system in the universe, or God's mighty magnanimous creation. He set reverberation in motion. Reverberation is very real. It always comes back. The Bible says you could throw something out on the water, and after 7 days or whatever, it's going to come back. God was stating right there, and I think it's in the book of Ecclesiastes, but it's guaranteed to come back. There's the creative aspect. The law of the creation says this, that everything produced after its own kind. After the creation, God began to put that, and he made sure that was going to be noted in the book of Genesis. Everything produces after its own kind, right? And whatever people, when they do what they're doing, however they choose, and it is choices. You get away from all this religious, how can I put it, esotericism. You realize, no, it's all choices, man. The majority of the rest of it, the nicey stuff that goes on, and people want to make all these higher understanding stuff, but it's quite simple. It's all based upon your choices. And you will have a lot of things begin to go incredibly well for you when you're making the right choices by choosing to be with the right people. Wrong people are always going to have bad things happen to them. Good people, yes. But I've learned, and I'm 63 now, I've learned that the majority of times I discovered a lot of years I spent actually getting hurt in my life is because of hurtful choices I made. Marrying the wrong woman. I was just about starting off when I was young, and I married this girl, and she seemed to be good in the Bible study and a whole bit. But you know what? I went into the wrong career because I could have jumped ship. That career was so wrong for me. I ended up having the level, I don't know, the insomnia came about because of being married to her, or if it was both. But the career itself, I started to lose my authenticity. I slowly started to discover I was drinking more. Okay. I was making lots of money. And sure enough, from where I stood, and maybe I'm wrong in this, she was gladly helping me spend my money, right? And I wanted to be so pleasing as a husband and everything else, that I was just spending my money, you know, going into debt. Never knew debt before, right? And it really, God really upheld me all through that time. But I even went into, I started to. I mean, I didn't. Even when I was young, I never really got into this. I started watching porn. You got the money and everything else. There's just so many things that was going on that really. A few times there, I stopped and I kind of thought, man, it's like I'm just freaking decaying here, and I couldn't find a way out because I was married. And by that time, the expectations was that you're the provider, you're responsible. See, the things about having morals, your morals can work against you in a wrong situation. It can be weaponized against you. And, sometimes it would be the best thing, yet it's not on the outside world. People say, hey, look, this guy doesn't have a reputation. Is sometimes life, the way it goes, they'll just blow up in people's faces so they can get out of a situation before it destroy them. And it may take a time before they actually recover, but when they recovered, they realized all along they knew what the problem was, and they were in it, and they're in it deep, right? And some people have the ability to, and maybe it's because they're cowardly, but they have the ability to project their awfulness as things that probably they deserve because of who they are. Okay. But they have the ability to project their ailments on their animals, on people close to them, or they can use a line of sight, which I called, if you look it up, called the double slit theory. They can use the power of the eye of evil. Okay. Where they can intently, and trust me, human beings do this and it does work. You can intently stare something and cause certain things to happen. It's called focus. And it works. That's where people got into the thing called visualization, right? It, it, you can, a person who is belligerent inside can choose a target, an object, which is not a human being. And because they don't want themselves to suffer, they delay the time frame of their suffering. They can curb what is rightfully theirs because of someone who's in their life who willfully knows the truth, but yet is willfully choosing to be with them. Friendships, for instance, right? I see it's legal. It's very legal in its aspects. So they have the power to now inflict harm. And what's even worse is that when they do it to animals, because I met people that when I first started learning this, I kind of thought, man, this stuff is heavy. Remember this one girl at this pet store. She started talking about all of her animals who died, and she said they all died of the same thing. And I kind of the first thought I had is like, so you're not paying attention? How is that possible? All these different animals are all that you've had. I can't remember exact number she had, but it was not a whole lot, but it's enough anyway. That they all died of the same thing. Then years later, I started to see this being a real truth. You know, they call it it's like when you going to get a blood transfusion, right? Transfusion, right? The trans is the travel by which you fuse things together. People can really do this. And they can, when they do it to other people, they can even do it to their children. That's what witchcraft comes in. You know, in the olden times, that God forbid, and he considers such an abomination. People used to actually uh, offer their children up as sacrifices to the gods or the demons, just so they can have long life, prosperity, and whatever. And you know, you'd be amazed how many parents have had children die prematurely, and they kind of like come along, they're all sad. And as you got to know them, you kind of go, you know, there's something very devious about this parent. And you kind of like started put two and two together and go, is it possible that they would have projected? Because you see, projection comes in any form of when things can happen in the land of transfusion, is that there must be a willing subject. There must be somebody who is subjected or wants to be subjected enough. That's submission. Enough for that thing to, some people say the power of suggestion. Well, it's more than that. It's the power. It has power. It's not even suggesting it. We go from suggesting to the power of intention, man. That, hey, this is going to happen. It just goes to show. You know, the Bible talks about this, according to your faith be it unto you. And people can project. And they're not come and tell you. They sometimes they probably don't even know what they're doing, but they have the art. They have the art down. They have it down to an art, what they can do. That they can work certain magical or magic in the soul world, in the spirit world, because we're electricity. But they just know, hey, it works. They just know they can get into a certain state of being and then things can happen, right? They just know they can get quiet enough or they can get intentionally enough and they can cause someone else to get sick. Now, whether or not they know they're intentionally doing that at that moment, they could be doing it for the sake of relief, to relieve themselves of what's rightfully due to them. They can turn it around and allay it. Allay, delay, or allay means to take it and move it away from. They could place it in someone else, and that person who's innocent didn't really even understand the spiritual stuff gladly takes it. Why? Because hey, I'm sitting with you and we're having a good old time. But what that person's doing is they're working witchcraft and they're working it on you. And it really comes down to, a lot of my videos kind of go along the same avenue. You really getting to know people. You really have to decide whether that person's benevolent or malevolent, right? Malicious or benevolent. Benevolent is, they're sweet, they're caring, they're kind. They really are good people. They really have the desire. The Bible says that wisdom from above is peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of good mercies and fruit, right? And when people are intentionally sending stuff out there, your very connection to them can cause a lot of the very same things that's happening to them to now collect and jump onto you. And here's the funniest thing about it, and I've discovered this. Their life all of a sudden starts to go better, and yours starts to go worse. You start to discover, hey, wait a second here. I know this is an exchange, and see that. Of course, you don't really know all that until you get so involved, right? That's evolved. It's like a circle, right? Volved. Inside, you're an evolver. The wheel, and you're both moving in there, circling around, being mixed and da da da, being mixed together, and you can't tell one life from the other anymore. And their stuff becomes your stuff becomes their stuff, and then you just make a decision one day, or God intervenes and separates you or breaks the relationship, and all of a sudden your stuff starts coming back to you. When you said you were running a mill, you started to have a season of misfortune, all of a sudden stops. And within like days or hours, you started having good news out of nowhere. And it's real. So I'm going to end my video with this. I want to keep it short. But don't deny the facts, the relativity, the facts that what people have will, not can, not might be, will be yours. You will. Because if people don't like to do this in their life, they don't like to own their stuff. That's what makes them very childish, stupid, ridiculous, annoying, pathetic, especially when they don't like to own their stuff. And people who like to own their stuff are people who are going to be more apologetic, or people who are going to be willing to admit that they're wrong, people who are willing to even come to you and say, look, I might have been out of line here. People are willing to listen to you if you got something to say to them. You know what? If I knew, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't know I was doing that, but I really apologize. That's not what I want to do. But if they're guilty as whatever, they'll be in your face, and you're dealing with a malevolent spirit. So I'll just leave you with that. The reaction to truth, okay, is more of a teller than just a simple reaction to you and them having a nice old time. And truth comes out in the end, no matter where you are. Have a good day. Like and subscribe.